Okay, so what we're now going to do is we're going to define something that we're just going to say this individual is Debbie's main bitch, okay, and this person is of type bitch, and we're just going to say we're just going to use the bitch constructor. That's the initialization. So we've defined a bitch. Okay, great. And so now and we're doing this first because the only way that we can really define Lil Debbie is for her to have a delegate. So now we'll actually say, okay, we've got Lil Debbie. She is of type Lil Debbie, and she has the Lil Debbie constructor with a delegate, and in this case, the delegate is Debbie's main bitch. Okay, real simple. Now we actually have an instance of Lil Debbie. All right, so let's just do a little bit of exploration here, and let's ask ourselves, at this point in the execution of our code, does Lil Debbie have a blunt? And I would say, and that's kind of something for you to ponder just a little bit right here. But let's ask the code. So we say if let blunt equal Lil Debbie dot Debbie's blunt. Okay. Then we're going to print a line into the console saying Lil Debbie's blunt is of type /blunt dot type. Okay, so part of you are wondering what this exclamation point is here, and this is what's called an unwrapped optional, or an implicitly unwrapped optional. So remember that we had optionals, which are these types with the question mark right here. This Lil Debbie may or may not have a blunt. Well, what we've done here is we've said, you know what? We're gonna allow a blunt to be the current blunt that Lil Debbie has. And if Lil Debbie does actually have a blunt, if this optional blunt is actually non-optional, if she has a blunt defined, then it's okay for us to access the type of blunt that she has, which is basically what this exclamation point is. We know that if we were able to get a blunt, then we can unwrap the type of blunt that we've gotten. All right. If we can't get a blunt from Lil Debbie, then we're going to run this line right here, which basically says, all right, Lil Debbie needs a blunt. Real simple. So we're either going to get a blunt, either Lil Debbie's blunt is defined, some delegate has passed the blunt to Debbie, and we're gonna be able to access the type of blunt that she has, or she never got a blunt and she needs a blunt right now. So these two things are going to happen, and let's actually just check our console right now to see what kind of a message we got. And as you can see, Lil Debbie needs a blunt. Why? Because if you remember, Lil Debbie is initialized with an optional blunt. The only way that she can ever get a blunt is for her delegate to pass her a blunt. Okay, so at this point what we want to do is pass a blunt. So we're going to say Lil Debbie dot get a blunt. All right. Don't need to do anything else. All we got to do is run the get a blunt function, and that's going to execute this code up here where Debbie's blunt is the blunt that her delegate or her bitch passes to her. Cool. So now if we take the exact same code and literally just copy and paste it right here, right after the Lil Debbie dot get a blunt, all right, and let's just get rid of it here because we already kind of know what that does if we haven't passed a blunt. Now if we go back here and take a look, It says, Lil Debbie got a blunt from her delegate of type Cali weed. Cool. And this is optional because we haven't actually forced this blunt to be anything, or the type to be anything yet. And now we say Lil Debbie's blunt is of type Cali weed. So here, Lil Debbie got a blunt. We ran this bit of code where her delegate passed her a blunt. The only way that we're going to know the type of blunt that Lil Debbie got is for the delegate to pass it, because remember, Lil Debbie's bitch actually is where we define the type of blunt that is getting passed to Debbie. Lil Debbie's bitch basically holds the key to the type of blunt that's getting passed. Okay, so she gets a blunt, then we allow that blunt to become Debbie's blunt, and instead of saying Lil Debbie needs a blunt now, we have just said we actually got the blunt, and now we're able to say what type of blunt it is by unwrapping that optional after we've allowed it to become the blunt that Lil Debbie currently holds on to. Okay, so this is kind of a lot of stuff to absorb, but the important things to think about is that when we have some kind of a delegate protocol and then a class of something that follows that specific protocol, what that means is that we can create instances of all kinds of bitches, of anything that follows that protocol. And any of those things are capable of passing off the data, or in this case, the blunt. Once again, Lil Debbie has plenty of bitches. Doesn't matter. It does not need to be this one specific bitch that is passing a blunt to Lil Debbie. It could be any bitch of Lil Debbie's that's passing a blunt to her. And so this is the kind of thing that we can actually do in our applications with data, is we can define some object to become a delegate. Let's say maybe some object is a URL connection delegate. Okay, and so it's able to pass the data that we get from a connection to a server back to our application. It doesn't matter what specifically that thing is that is actually following the protocol. It just matters that it follows the protocol. Remember, a bitch is anything that follows the Lil Debbie delegate protocol. And that all it means is that it has a blunt and it can pass a blunt. Okay, so in future tutorials, we're actually going to talk about other types of delegation and other types of delegate protocols, where some other type of class becomes the delegate of another type of class in Swift and is capable of passing data or paying attention to certain kinds of things that happen and then sending a message back. Presumably Lil Debbie's bitches could be doing a lot more for her than just passing blunts. Lil Debbie's bitches, I don't know. Maybe they're paying attention to the level of lean in her cup or something of that nature. I have no idea. Or maybe, as Lil Debbie says, they're actually paying heed to all of their own bitches and perhaps seeing which ones are more ratchet than the others, and then going and then taking your bitches so that you're leaving with no bitches. So Lil Debbie's delegates could be responsible for all sorts of things, although we have pretty much defined a very base case here. At the very minimal, something that's a Lil Debbie delegate, something that follows this protocol, must have a blunt and pass a blunt. So hope to see you in future tutorials. Hope this was fun and entertaining. If you like it, subscribe, leave a comment, say whatever. Let me know. I'm always interested.